Alright guys, I'm doing a video on how to take apart and rebuild a power steering pump for an 88 F250. I'm sure it's the same for the 90s trucks. I'm pretty sure had the same water pump or very similar. The reason I'm doing this video is because the video I saw online didn't show the guy taking it apart. It was just magically apart all of a sudden, and that didn't help me very much. So we'll do a take apart and then a rebuild. And one of the first things I'm going to have to do is get this over in the vise and get this fitting loose. So this fitting here has to be taken out, I believe, to get the cover off. So I'm going to do that. I'm not quite sure, so we'll find out. It's a 24 millimeter, and we'll be right back. Can you guys see the vise? There we go. So I'm going to mount this thing in the vise. It also needs the pulley hub taken off. I ground that, and it's a long story. So there we go. I didn't want to hit the plastic housing. So that's loose. So I think once that's off, I think this thing will come off real easy. So we'll take this thing loose. And I believe, according to the video, there's also a piston. And I'm going to assemble this stuff. I am going to assemble this stuff on the table the way it comes out, so that way I can keep it in order. So that goes like that. We got 2 O-rings here. I have an O-ring kit. I don't know what it came with. And supposedly, yep, that just slips right off. Sweet. And then what we've got is a hole right. Is that the only hole? Yes, it is. So you're going to need a thin punch. Is that going to fit in that hole? What should have happened is the person who put this in should have put the clip right towards the hole. I don't know if someone rebuilt this recently or what. I probably need to try to pull on it so it comes out of the groove and I'm not just prying up. Okay, it's coming out now. Very, very tight. So 2 things you're going to want to do. What time do I got here? It's 6. 2 things you're going to want to do. When you put this back in, orientate the clip so this opening is out in one of these areas where the boss is not. It's, 90 degrees to the boss. The other thing is you're going to want the opening, you're going to want one of the pieces of circlip to just be over the hole. If you just put it in there randomly, some guy like me is not going to be able to get it out, which it sucked. probably have to reshape that thing. So this should pull out. I used 2 small screwdrivers to get that out, and vice grips. Alright guys, that punch was about it was about 1/8 of an inch punch. So then, let's see here. This piece comes out next. This has an O-ring on it. This is going to need to be cleaned up for sure. Get all the metal shavings off there. You're going to have probably some aluminum shavings. That goes like that. And then this piece comes out next. Like I said, we're going to keep all these laying the same direction. And then this piece comes out next. And there's a circlip here. Okay, that comes off real easy. You use 1 screwdriver to stop it and 1 screwdriver to get it out. So that came out very, very easy. Shaft pulls out through the front. I'm going to leave it in the same orientation. Not sure how these come out. Okay. There's only 1 set of holes that these fit in, thankfully. So I'm going to put this back together. And I'm going to put this back together. So it goes like that. For now. So there's 1 O-ring there. Is there an O-ring inside here? Okay guys, so it came out, and what it required was I was having to kind of slap tap it down on the table. I don't know what to call that, but it was suctioned down because of the liquid behind there. And so it finally popped out. It's also O-ringed. So it's got an O-ring right here. I'm going to put this back on the pins as part of the stack set. Then the conical washer, it's actually called a spring washer in engineering terms, takes up the slack inside of the motor with a certain amount of pressure. That goes conical side, it goes large side towards the assembly. I think you guys can see that. And the smaller end, which goes outward, goes towards the body. So I've got that all stacked up on there, and I'm going to work on the seal for the back of the motor next. I think I'm going to call it a night, actually. Hey guys, we're back to this. So I bought a Harbor Freight puller, and I love Harbor Freight. So the puller consists of these 2 halves. In fact, let me see if I can show you on the thing. So it consists of these 2 halves and this outer ring, and then I used that washer to make the stack up. You know, it's tighter side to side, filled it up. And then you use that piece there, goes inside. There's 2 sides to these halves. One's a little deeper make sure that side goes towards the shaft. So it's got deeper teeth to grab a hold of the shaft. And then this threaded bolt here goes in the end, and this pushes against the actual shaft and is going to pull this nose off. Yours is going to have probably a pulley. I broke mine off not knowing, I knew I was going to replace the pulley, so I broke it off, not knowing how all this worked, not knowing how this actually pulled off. I thought I could do it with a 3-jaw puller. So I'm assuming this is going to work. Tighten this down, pull it off. Going to get it in the vise over there and do it. We'll move you guys over to the little mini vise. Alright, I'm not sure if this is going to work or not. 1/2 inch. Alright, that's real tight. Oh. I'm an idiot. You gotta have this collar on here. Oh, and so I wrapped it with tape as well to make it real snug. I think I'm gonna have to put this in the bigger vise, guys. I'll be back. Alright guys, if for some reason you can't get your shaft off, you are gonna have to relief the metal. I cut most of the way through this. I don't know if you guys can see it. Yeah, there you can in the light. I had to cut most of the way through it for it to let go of the shaft. I nicked the shaft a little bit. I'm going to go clean this up on the wire wheel real quick, and then I'll be back in here. Alright guys, let my idiot self be a lesson to you guys. I may have nicked that right where the seal runs. So this may all be for nothing. I may have to buy a new power steering pump. I'll watch the pump when I get it back in the vehicle and see if it's leaking. If it does, I'll buy a new power steering pump. That really pisses me off. This is where the seal runs, right past that rust spot. Don't nick that. If you're gonna nick it out here, that's fine. You nick it here, that's where the seal is. So this may all be for naught. We'll see. I probably won't do a follow-up video, but don't nick it there. Okay guys, I count 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 O-rings, and then the seal. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 O-rings in the kit. Got 2 here, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm not exactly sure where that last O-ring goes. I'm going to look through it really carefully, but I see 7 of 8. I don't see 8. So not sure. Going to check it out. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe I do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, not seeing the 8th O-ring, but I'm going to figure it out. So I know this big O-ring goes around the outside here. Actually, before I do this, I'm going to get some assembly lube so that these go together properly. Alright guys, I'm going to do the ones that I know are correct. I got type F, it's cheap. I was going to get synthetic, and it said Mercuron, or however you pronounce it, 6. I couldn't find 5, and so I just went with what type F. That's what they said to use originally, so it was cheap. Little O'Reilly's action. So this is the one that goes around the outside. If I wasn't Mr. Fumble Fingers. And you can definitely tell the old one was squared off. So this has now kind of a squarish profile. I don't know if that's from time or if that's shaped that way in the first place. So that one's now used. I know that this one here needs to be replaced, which matches this one. And that sucker is hard. So we'll run it through a little bit of oil on the rag there. Put that back on. Now, if you happen to take these apart, there's an order they go in. So the cone washer goes towards the assembly and goes away from the housing. So the cone washer dishes in towards the assembly. We'll go through that in a minute. I have to pound off this seal here. So that's one of the next things I think I'm going to do, is get that off. Pretty straightforward. And when you pry this out, I'm sure you want to be careful. Why is that moving? There we go. Well, that thing was hard as a rock. All right. It's a metal seal. So then the new one, obviously make sure there's no burrs in there. Put a little bit of oil on it. Drive this on with a socket. Alright, you can tell when it comes up tight. I just used a 7/8 socket. And then same thing with this metal this metal outer ring will just, can you guys even see that? Yeah, you can. Tap this on. Basically the same setup. Need a bigger socket. Hey, one of these steel collars just happens to be the right size for the puffer. I gotta get something else for that. Alright, I'm gonna borrow what the guy did in the last video that I watched, which was he used a piece of oak, and I just happen to have a piece of oak laying around. I can't see that this weep hole has some specific orientation. Alright guys, next we're doing the O-rings on this fitting here. And wish I could clean that up a little more. Alright, I happen to have got some picks from eBay, which I think they're in the house, so I'm not going to grab them. I'll cheat and use this really teeny tiny Allen wrench to get it off there. Yeah. So the upper one was in such bad shape that it ripped coming off. It was like cone shaped, which on the video I watched, his was cone shaped too. It was pretty bad. So I think this one goes here. Yep. So this one goes on the lower section. And be real careful you don't poke through the O-ring. You don't jab it. And then I think it's this thicker one that goes up here. Pretty sure. Yeah, those seem to fit correctly. And then this O-ring in the cap is this one here. So they're pretty hard to get screwed up. The only one you might get confused is that really thin guy there. We'll get these old ones off the table. Does that fit any better? Yes, it does. Alright, so that definitely is tighter. And then the last one that I can see is on this outer piece here. And that's a booger. So if you've got eyeglass screwdrivers, those will work. This is all still coated. I'm not bothering to clean this off, although I better oil that up a little bit. All right, and then the inside O-ring. Where does that go? There we go. So the inner O-ring goes here. Sweating like a fool. Make sure and rub it in there with your thumb. These go together a certain way. I can't remember how. I gotta look at the video to see how these go together. Alright guys, I'm going to bring you in a little closer. So I can't, from his video, the guy I watched, his is different than mine. Mine, this piece here, which is the bottom piece with the two O-rings, the O-rings go down and it's symmetrical, meaning that these shapes, everything about this that I can tell, is the exact same shape. There's no difference end to end. So I'm going to put this in here and find those two pinholes first. There's one. There's the other. And then seat it down in there. So the second piece on mine, I could see the pattern right here in the light from the gear above it. It will only go on one way. You want to go in the smaller holes. So there's two sets of holes. Big hole, small hole. You want to go in that one, big hole, small hole in that one. And if you go to put it in the wrong way, it's not concentric, I believe. So let me check real quick. If I tried to go in the other holes, oh, the pin came out. Pin needs to go back in. So if I try to put this in backwards, don't let the gear slip out either. This whole gear with all these teeth can come out. Alright guys, so mine's a little different than the video. What you're able to see on mine are different wear marks from when it came off. And let me see if I can show you. So let me see if I can get it in the camera. See the shiny spots as I rotate this around? That mark right there, that shiny spot, corresponds with this top piece. Now, if you don't know that, this notch, there's only one notch on mine versus his video that had a bunch of notches. This notch, if you look at it on the side, that notch goes up. This groove appears to line up with the hole that you push the pin out. So mine goes in like this. So if I show you, notches up, that groove right down there is pointing at that pinhole. You're gonna see the groove there and the pinhole there. That's how I'm assembling this. Next, wear marks. These are from the wipers on this groove. This goes down. Again, this piece is not symmetrical. The notch here, this notch, goes with that notch. Now, is that right? I forgot to do something, guys. I forgot to put the circlip in, among other things. Get that pin back down. So yeah, so I can see the wear marks on my part, and I can see these little things right here. There's 2 ears that are marked down there. So this thing does go yeah. Okay, yes. So those two marks line up. I can see the wear mark flat here and with a little round there. See how they're different? This has 2 ears, this has 1 ear. So these two indents go together, but I got to put the clip on first and I got to put the bearing on first, or the shaft. So shaft goes in next. Get the teeth lined up. Get the circlip in, which should be really easy to do. You can tell which side went down, so I'm going to make sure mine goes the same way. Come on, Butterfingers. That went on real easy. So that's in. So now I can't set it down because this shaft will keep trying to push out. So I'll set it down at an angle. Alright, next is this piece. And this goes on like that. And it goes on notch to notch. They line up. And then you've got this last piece, and it goes on with, I believe, the casting, that pocket, towards that pocket. I believe it goes on like this. Real quick, I'm going to verify that. Hold on. Alright, so we're going to use this casting part as an orientation for ourselves. And the way these holes go, this thing needs to point, when this is up, the hole points towards you. You're going to just put it in, and you're going to get those pins lined up, and it's ready to go. Now you're going to put your circlip in. I'm going to spread my circlip out a little bit. And the other thing that we're going to do is, my circlip's a little bent. We'll get it straight so that they're pointing at each other, When I pulled mine out, I sprung it slightly. There we go. Now on mine, the person that put it together didn't realize the person that was following them would have to take it apart. You want the clip to be in an orientation where one of the arms, one of the ends is just past that hole. So what I would recommend doing is putting it in like this. We're going to start it right at the hole, and we're going to just start to feed it in. Oh my gosh, guys. All right, after much dicking around and being really frustrated, you put the back in first. So what you do is you start the back, get it about where you want it, hold the back down. Come on.
I got eggs. I took all your eggs.
Okay.
All right, bye, sweetie.
Bye. And once you are able to hold the back down, you can flex this other side. And it looks like, for the most part, will pop right in. May have to help it with a screwdriver. Big screwdriver. What a retard I am. So you still, this isn't all the way down. You gotta push it down in there and then get it seated. So we'll push it down first, and then we'll get it seated. I don't know if this clamp is necessary or not. Definitely gave me something to hold on to. Coming up on 9 minutes here. This side's still not all the way down. I want to make sure this thing is seated, so probably an unnecessary step, but no, actually, that was a very needed step. So it definitely was not in all the way, in case you guys are wondering. So I'm actually using this flathead to wedge it down in there all the way. And I'm sure what I'm doing is collapsing the spring washer. So you can definitely tell when it's in all the way. Let me see if I can get it on camera for you guys. See how it's sitting way in there. So it's way back in the groove. It's not sitting up flush where it was before. You can see the screwdriver mark. So make sure you get it all the way around, seat it all the way in, or it'll pop out, I'm sure. Last but not least, spring and plunger go in, and then this goes in. I don't know what to torque it to yet. So we'll thread it down in there and then snug it up. Alright guys, so next is the putting the cover back on, and I'm going to give this a good wipe down. In fact, I'm going to go put some cleaner on this. Be right back. Alright guys, gave it a quick clean. Gonna put a little oil on there. Not too much though. Man, that stuff smells like ass. Okay. Gonna slide that on. Boy, does it go on tight. And we're going to line this hole up here. Going to put this plunger down in there. Going to snug this up until I find out what the actual sure it's probably, I mean they're O-ring sealed, so it shouldn't be like beef status. Get the fill cap back on. And Viola rebuilt pump. Now, all that work may be wasted with the nick I put on this shaft. We'll find out when I run the truck. So if you're going to do this and you've watched to the end of the video, first of all, thank you. Second of all, don't nick the shaft. Just don't go all the way through this piece here. Just especially at the ends here, don't go through. If you nick it in the middle or you nick it towards the outside, it's fine. If you nick it on the inside back here, it's where that seal is. So I also didn't use this O-ring. Don't know where that goes, that real skinny guy there. There's 7 labeled O-rings on the diagram, 8 O-rings in the kit. So as always, I hope this helps somebody. I'll talk to you guys later.